To be present, we must be intentional, and to bear fruit, we must feed the soul. You're listening to Pause, Sip, and Ponder. Three, two, one. Hello, Ponders. Welcome back to another episode of Pause, Sip, and Ponder. It's been a long while, so we are feeling a little bit excitement and nervous because it's been such a long time. I think almost 2 months, maybe. It may be shorter than that, but it definitely feels that long. And we're so excited to be here. I'm excited to be here to catch up with you all. What's been happening these past weeks? Well, we did have our first live event last month, and that was a huge success. Thank you to everyone who made it out. It was so wonderful meeting you guys in person. We had some mindfulness activities, and we have another event coming up, which we will talk more about. But I hope you all are doing well. If this is your first time listening, this podcast is all about everything and anything, really. We talk about our lives and our experiences through storytelling and giving perspective, just in the aim to give you some encouragement for your day, for your life. And yeah, I think we can learn a lot from one another through vulnerability, and we truly believe that vulnerability is strength. And yeah, we're so excited for you guys being here. But moving on into today's episode, I have my lovely guest, Abby. Hi. She is a third person from the Gordon family already. Yeah, little by little, we're just getting them all. But I'm super excited to have Abby. She is the sister of Alicia, which you know, the daughter of Mr. Gordon, which you also know. And she is in town, and she will share more about her. But I love Abby. I love your energy. I love your spirit. And even though we've only seen each other like just a handful of times, like I already felt like we've been knowing each other for a minute. So I'm so excited for you to be here. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good. It's good to be here.
Could you please share a little bit about yourself? Anything really, doesn't have to be anything formal, just anything you enjoy.
Sure. Well, I'm Abby. I live in Maryland, or I'm based in Maryland, but then I go to school in California, small liberal arts school. But then I keep studying abroad in France.
Okay,
so
France.
I'm like all over the place, really. So it's nice to have like a strong, like connected community coming back home. But yeah, I'd say like this episode's a good one for me because I'm multi-passionate. I like art, sports, cooking, music, baking, everything. So I can't pick a hobby. But yeah, so I think it's perfect for me. But I'm glad to be here and glad to see you again.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, I agree. We're like, I think the podcast might be just us realizing we're similar in a lot of ways, honestly. But yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, for those who are just getting to know you, and I think this is like our moment too to get to know each other even more, like on a deeper level, because we always see each other like at your house in groups and events. So I guess a question to break the ice would be, what is your ideal day?
Oh my gosh.
Like the most perfect day, no work, nothing.
What's
just
funny
whatever
is
you want.
Someone asked me that and it included work in it, which is a little scary. It was like, I think that I like the feeling of being productive, so it definitely starts out with like, it starts out with like journal time, maybe like an exercise, either going to the gym or Pilates or a run if I'm feeling crazy.
Okay.
So probably not that actually. And then like good solid breakfast and like time to enjoy it without my phone and like drink coffee on my porch. I've been using my porch a lot.
Nice.
And then go to a coffee shop and get something done. Like
that sounds like my idea.
I know, right? I'm like, it has to have a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. In the afternoon, like literally any of my hobbies ever. Yeah, like it's so sad because I actually haven't included like seeing anyone in this day. So far, it's just me
It's okay.
by myself. And then I'd say like going out with friends in the evening, like.
Where are you on the spectrum? Are you more
dinner.
extroverted, introverted?
I used to be more extroverted, and now I'm becoming introverted. I
Yeah.
I feel like I was more Alicia, and now I'm steering towards AJ.
AJ?
Yeah. AJ doesn't leave the house.
Yeah, AJ's
But,
the younger sister,
yeah,
by the way.
because I used to like be like the more friends the merrier, and I have to keep up with all of them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got burnt out and was like, you don't have to do that. And
Oh, sorry,
oh,
notification.
you're good.
Yeah.
And like anytime I have plans by myself, they like always are exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm like, that
Is
was
it
an
that you
option.
want to like just gain some energy through being alone, and then you can go out? Is that
Yeah,
kinda where it
I
goes?
think yes,
Yeah.
it's that, because my dad's similar. I think he's like, if you don't do one thing for yourself each day, then it'll feel like you're just doing for other people, and then you get burnt out. So
Sometimes I'm like, what would Mr. Gordon
Right,
say in
right.
this situation?
he's nice to have around. What about you? Are you?
My ideal day, pretty much almost similar.
Mhm.
I do love a good nature walk somewhere, like an overlook. Like
Yes.
even on like a day off, like me and Kelsey the other day, we went out to go on an overlook, like 7 a.m. in the morning.
What
and
overlook? Where?
High Rock. It's Cascade, Maryland, so it's like a little less than an hour away. Yeah, you'll never know what's like local.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Drivable.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was just nice. I love like, especially in the midst of like being so busy and having so many priorities, it's good to, for me at least, just to feel small sometimes.
Yeah,
Not
that's
short, because I
good.
am short, but like small, like you
You
know.
knew that already. But
Yeah, I already knew that. Where you're not thinking so much about
Yeah.
yourself and what has to get done and all of these things, and just like
Also, the air is nicer outside. You're like, wow, breathing's easier. And it's so pretty. Why don't I do this more often?
especially the breathing, because I feel like throughout the day sometimes we may not breathe properly and just being anxious sometimes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's probably it. And then coffee, of course, and having some good company. And yeah, honestly, it's probably being busy as well.
I
like
know, which
I,
is
I
so
can't
sad.
I can't stay in bed on my ideal day. Although maybe sometimes my body's telling me I should, but on my ideal day, I like having a schedule and keeping with my routine, cleaning up,
Yeah.
cleaning the space. So like chores.
Sounds like a Monday
Yeah,
that we like.
honestly. Yeah, but yeah, that's awesome to know.
Yeah.
But so the reason why I do have Abby today as a guest speaker, not only to get to know each other even more, but because from the great response we got on our first event, we wanted to do a second event already, which we will be calling Pause, Sip, and Paint. And thankfully, Abby and the Gordon household will be helping out and hosting, and this is something that I think we both really want to do, where it'll
Yeah.
be an intentional day to paint, to chill, to socialize. It'll be a cute brunch. So we're gonna put all of the details in our bio, in our description, and that will be happening on July 22nd. We're gonna have a little brunch, and all details will be given to you. But I hope to see you there.
So excited.
Yeah, super
Definitely
excited.
come.
Yeah. But before that event happens, we wanted to kind of speak more about our experiences with art. This brand, really, Positive and Ponder, is first started off just being my personal journey of reclaiming myself as an artist. I did have my podcast at the time, but I just wasn't really sure where it was going. So it was really kind of like my platform and my documentation of like where I was going to be as an artist.
Right.
And and so wanted to talk about art, and specifically how it can relate to our personal lives, how it can affect our lives, especially when it comes with perfectionism.
Right. Our favorite.
Yeah, because we had like a lot of like subtopics we could talk about when it comes to art, and we could talk about all of them really. But I think the one that definitely resonates with both of us that we agreed on is perfectionism. So, first, let me ask, what is your connection to art? I remember the first times we met, I think you were painting, or like I saw someone spread on the table.
Oh,
I was
really?
like, yeah. I was like, oh, who's the painter in this house?
I don't clean up. Yeah, they're mad at me. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your background? Why art?
Good question. So I think it started with my grandmother being an artist. She's a potter, or that was her profession. So she would like first teach us, handling clay, and I didn't really get into that as an expression, but it's a great outlet. But she's also a watercolorist, so then she started giving us like mini drawing lessons, or just like always when we're at her house or like during vacation give us like pen and paper, pencil and paper, and I'm just like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing. And then so it's actually been with me for a while, which like thinking back on it, that's really nice to have have had that through my childhood.
When was the moment you were like, oh, well, I think this might be like a thing, where you find yourself doing it more regular? Or is it more like an escape, or your way to express yourself, or just
I see it as definitely expressing myself. At first it was just like another hobby, but I realized it's like a very specific expression and release that you can't do through guitar or sports. Like it's like seeing what your thoughts are, seeing what goes on in your head visually, and not even journaling can like address that need. So yeah, I think it was mostly just always there, like drawing as a kid. Going through phases of mediums, like I'm going through my crocheting phase right now, which is like a kind of art. I'm going through gouache. You know gouache?
No. Gouache, no.
It's like
I've heard of it though.
It's in between acrylic water. Anyways.
Oh, is it like more thicker?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the jar. Yeah.
It's so good.
Interesting.
And then I had my oils phase, acrylics, just drawing. So but yeah, it's always been there for me.
That's awesome. Were you ever in any art classes growing up?
Yeah, I would take like, the thing about school is like you have to take the Art 101 to take the next class. So I'm just always taking Art 101, and I'm like, guys, can I learn something? Like, yeah. So.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Well, you saying that you like explore different mediums, like, I feel like I didn't. I mean, I did, but I feel like it was more of a obligation to try things. So my background with art, I've been holding like crayon. My mom said she knew I was an artist like the moment I like held a crayon. But yeah, I was definitely the art kid. I definitely did the most in like school projects. Like the boldest colors, and was really particular, and was really in my zone when I was doing like art, even like in kindergarten and stuff. But I don't think it like really truly affirmed in me that that I guess I had some type of talent till I was getting a little bit more recognized by my art teachers, and they were the ones who really like encouraged me, inspired me, and kind of empowered me to continue. So went on with that. I got like little awards here and there in elementary school years, and then my art teacher really pushed me to try this magnet program, and so I got into Visual Arts Center, which is an art magnet program.
Wait, where?
In Montgomery County. It's Einstein. Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's good.
I wasn't that great.
That's so cool.
Which was really cool. So it was a double period. So just imagine 2 periods of doing art. And
but
so
that's good. Don't you want more time?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went into that, and it's double period. So you have so much time to do art. Your 4 years in this program is really dedicated to building up your portfolio, especially when you're going to college. And so you're also trying to figure out your style, and it was really fun. I learned a lot. I grew a lot as an artist. and it was really fun. And I think, yeah, and I was pursuing to be an art teacher actually originally before
Really?
anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
What medium were you using in high school mostly?
Mainly acrylic, 'cause
Okay.
honestly, like, no one funds the art programs, so we couldn't have oil paint or
man.
all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
But we did what we could. And then also pencil drawing. So I did a lot
Oh
of
my gosh.
portraits.
That's the hard stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just really love doing portraits ever since I was a kid and just trying my best to capture. We were talking about this like before. I'm not an abstract artist. Like,
Oh yeah, that's hard.
I couldn't
So
be like,
hard. Yeah.
let me see.
Yeah.
So I usually tend to just like make what's right in front of me.
Mhm.
And yeah, so that's pretty much my background. And then went through the program, got into my dream art schools,
Right.
couldn't
Was
afford it.
Scabs? Right?
It was what I didn't like apply to many, but I got into Micah, I got into VCU, and then
Where are
some
they?
oth-
Sorry.
Virginia. Micah's a private school in Baltimore.
Nice.
Yeah, but
That's awesome.
didn't work out.
Yeah. That's okay.
Of course, at the time, that's like crushing
It's
to
crushing,
like
I'm sure.
to be like, oh man, I
Yeah.
can't afford going to art school. So then, and keep in mind, like my whole life was dedicated to art.
Yeah.
So as a teen, it's like, all right, so what's next?
Like you weren't even thinking like, well, back up, I can be like business or I don't know. Like yeah, it was just
It was
full
just art
Wow.
because there's nothing really that I took interest, or at least maybe I didn't like make enough time to like try
well, when
to.
you put
but
all, when you go all in with one specialty, which I feel like is a lot of people do, and I wish I had, or sometimes wish I could put all my eggs in one basket, because I'm like spread so thin. So yeah, I like people do that all the time. My friend, her whole life she's been doing soccer and she's trying to go pro, but now she's like, what if not? I'm like, but you're a baller, so can't say the same.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think that's a great segue to talk more about like perfectionism and how
Yeah.
perfectionism can be found even in art and our daily lives. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, and I think although I really loved the program, I grew a lot in it. It was a lot of about deadlines and meeting up, these things. And it was a lot critique too. I'm not going to lie. Like
Right.
you literally have to display your work in
Right
front
next
of
to other
everyone
art. Yeah.
and have people critique it. And so it did like create like a a hard shell for me and like built my, my I guess thick skin when it came to like criticism and
Yeah,
stuff like
that's true.
that. But of course, if you don't have a plan B, like I didn't, like I completely like dropped it like right after. I couldn't
Right.
like I realized that I couldn't afford art school, and so I didn't even want to like call myself an artist after that because I was so used to, I assumed that being an artist you have to create art every single week, and I didn't have that in me already, and I was like, okay, then maybe I'm not an artist because I'm not making this much work and I'm not putting it online for people to see, like, so like, yeah, I had a little hiatus with that. Perfectionism is a consequence sometimes when we're over planners like me, and it can also infiltrate like our creative life as artists and our personal lives. So we'll just start there actually. Do you have any perfectionist tendencies personally?
Yes.
Yes.
Yup. And that's
Yes.
the podcast.
Yeah,
The
that's
answer
it.
is yes. I'm kidding. No, so many.
Wow.
And yeah, you don't really realize it till you talk to other people and they're not taking 5 hours on an assignment. Like, I can't BS things. Even if I tried, because I'm like, oh, well, this is shorting myself. Like, I'm not learning. Like, it's not my best work. I mean, that's a good thing, like, doing your best work. But sometimes you don't need to spend, like, 5 hours on things. So I'm not very efficient. But, like, in terms of, like, personal life, I guess, I also never called myself an artist. Honestly, don't today even. I've never called myself an athlete until I was on a college team, even though I played soccer my whole life, and other sports actually. Never called myself like a cook or baker or even a guitarist. because because of perfectionism, because you know that there's someone else who's like better than you or more talented or just more knowledgeable than you, and that imposter syndrome, I was like, I'm just gonna drop it. And it's also like what you were saying, like it's easier to call yourself an athlete when that's your thing, like you play soccer 4 or 5 days a week and that's what you want to do in life. But I can't say that. Like,
yeah, and you
I
don't want
love
to do
it.
that
Yeah,
5 times a week all the time.
I don't. I want to like do one day of soccer, one day of crocheting, one day painting, or all of them in one day. Like, it's all over the place. So yeah, that's what not being able to say that I'm this because I know that I'm more than that. You know.
What was the process? Was it always like, oh, I can like be all of this, or was it like, no, have you ever had moments where it's like, because I wish I had that like mindset, because as a perfectionist, like I said before, like I only had a plan A, and it's not that I didn't have like choices, I just didn't allow myself to have other choices, because like if I like just so happen to dabble in something else, I might not be as good anymore here, or
That's
might
so
lose.
true. Okay, so we're both perfectionists, but we took it to
different
like,
ways.
Because you were like, okay, let me get really, really good and do everything with art, and other things I won't be as good at, so I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah,
right?
and it's fear of failure too.
So like,
Okay, so I wanted to do basketball before. I was not good.
Okay.
It was just something I did in middle school.
Okay.
Like, we didn't win anything, but I liked basketball at the time. And so when you're approaching like, a freshman in high school, you're really thinking about like, oh my gosh, this is going to be my entire life, for the next 4 years. I got to think so precisely. But at the same time, I wanted to do POMs because I love dancing.
POMs is so
But I had
fun
already
to watch.
gotten into the art program. It's double period, and it's just like I could not do it. And like, so I settled. I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna do sports. And I think that's like one of the things I kind of regretted, at least freshman year, because it's kind of the easiest one technically, like the easiest year. Hi, Bugs. Our bunny just has just came.
It's so extroverted, unlike
She's joining the pod. And then I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna do anything. I'm gonna dedicate my first, and I thought I just wanted to play safe, but I think also at the same time, like when I think about it, like I think I was fearful of change, and I was fearful of failing that I mean, it's a huge opportunity to be in a magnet program, but just that itself I think sometimes can limit someone's potential, or even just like freedom, but I don't know.
So you dropped it because you didn't think you'd have enough time to be good at both of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For
sure.
Well, I don't think about the time. I just make do, and I'm like, my schedule is so full all the time. But I think that, wait, I'm trying to backtrack. So you took perfectionism in like I'm going to do one thing. And I took it as like the way to be perfect is to be able to do a lot of things well. So it was like,
okay,
well, I have to do all of them well, which is impossible if anyone is wondering.
Disclaimer. Spoiler.
It's crazy. It took me a long time to learn that. So I think about that. So I wrote down, and I realized that perfection comes from a fear of failure and seeking external validation. At least mine comes in that flavor. I don't know about other people.
For sure.
So the fear of failure, I never thought I was scared of failure because I have been told I'm adventurous.
Okay.
I went to school across the country. I've never visited the campus because of COVID. I lived on campus when it was all online, and we were like the lab rats for that semester. It was so weird.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think of myself as fearing failure because I try a lot of different things. I'll literally try anything, like food wise. I'll go to a random country. But then I I realized that it's I'm scared of like committing to something and then it not working out. So that's why like when I try something, and I think because you like when you can pick things up quickly, then it feels like, oh yeah, I'm not scared of failure. I try everything. But you didn't really fail. You like picked it up quickly and people like were proud of you. But then it's like the learning curve of like after you put in hours, and then you obviously like, you know, beginner's luck or whatever, and then you plateau. It's like, no, like
For sure.
why aren't I getting better and better like I used to? So that happened with lacrosse, that happened with a lot of things, and then I just kind of stop. So
Yeah, for sure. That's me sometimes. And with when you mentioned like getting validation from other people, it's a lot in art, like all the time actually. Like the only way for you to kind of know you're good is if someone tells you you're good, which is so sad.
Oh,
and it like definitely ruins the creativity and like definitely ruins the journey that's actually supposed to be at a steady pace. And oh my gosh, like I can't remember like many times where I've like felt so proud about a piece because it was all rushed. Like it's all about meeting deadlines, and so I think that kind of like spoiled the fun of creativity and art. And I think that's why it was so hard for me to come back, because I didn't remember how to dig deep into art just for funsies. Like it was so sad. It was definitely a journey. But yeah, again, to perfectionism, I think I also feared being wrong. Like trying something new and then being like, well, I mean, no one told me to do this, so this must be like my fault for like even trying. Like, why did I even waste my time? And like, it's also sad.
Wasting time is something I think about all the time. And like why?
Yeah,
I don't know. But the thing for me with seeking validation is because one time you do something really well and everyone likes it, or like exceedingly well, and maybe you didn't take that long on it, so you think you can do that again in that short of a time, but then you expect it every time, but the reaction goes down. Like it's not like, I'll do things almost performatively or paint performatively, like they're gonna love this or I don't know, but then like, and then think about, I don't know, my family or friends reacting to it, and like because I need that validation, like I put so much pressure on it, and then they're like, oh nice, and I'm like,
what else?
What did she say?
yeah
Like I expected like, oh my god, you know. So that's just not a good place to come from. But I think artists, it really is nuanced and personal, and if everyone likes your art, then it's probably basic, right? Not everyone likes Matisse, or let me think of some others, Van Gogh, or
for sure. Yeah. And I think another thing for me personally, when it comes to perfectionism, is that it hindered me from like really digging deep into who I am personally as an artist, because like you said, it was all performative. And so and I never really took the time to like even figure out like, is this truly authentically me? Like of course a lot of it was, but there was just no grace time for me to like even just, you know, experiment, because you don't have time. Well, as you know, although,
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Like, and when it comes to like people, I feel like when I'm affirmed more through people, then that will dictate like what to do next. And I had to stop that. Especially if it's not receiving, like you said, as much like recognition, which is so bad. And I think also it had to do with like my upbringing too, like, you know, bringing, you know, the best grades and then bringing awards home. And so I had to be the best at everything. And I think, you know, eventually, like even just bringing those home, you're not fulfilled at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then it's like, now what, you know, and looking for validation in other things. And and
I think about like people going in any hobby, having to make that switch to monetizing their hobby if they want to make it professional, and that's so hard and scary. And I thought about selling my art earlier this summer, but then And then I started and I was like, all right, what do I paint?
Yeah.
Guys, what do you want? And there's also the pressure, like money wise, of not wasting supplies and wanting, like, oh, this is my last canvas, don't mess it up. Like,
yeah,
because it's expensive.
it is, guys. It really is.
But I've learned that, like, the seeking validation part, I finally realized with guitar, especially, where I was literally playing in front of church, like, every Sunday, and that was my only, like, take on guitar. Yeah. Which it wasn't my own. It wasn't personal. And then during COVID, I started messing around with it in my room, like, not even in front of the family. And there's also the imposter syndrome of, like, I don't know music theory like everyone else in my family. I never really took, like, classical lessons. But then I would just mess around with it. And then I started creating songs, like, back to back. And, like, my emotions were in them, like, and it was my own and it was fun. So, yeah, I'm big on, like, practicing in private just so that you're sure that it was yours, or you're sure that it's not performative and you get to just be you. So,
yeah, and I definitely learned that from Gil, because he was like the OG in saying, like, nah, like, social media is not the way, because it can destroy people too. And, like, I personally had to take a hiatus when it came to my art and, like, what I was gonna do next, because I just found myself, like, you know, when, like, you're trying to get inspiration, especially if you're not an abstract artist, like, you're just searching, like, on Pinterest, like, for ideas.
Draw hair or something like that.
Yeah, and although it is good, it is nice.
Yeah,
it's definitely okay to look for, you know, references when getting inspiration, but sometimes you'll find yourself scrolling more than you are, like, taking time to, like, do art.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to like completely put that down. And there are some days where you won't have creative drive, you know. I feel like it's not, like, motivation is not something you can depend on, like, all the time.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? I feel like they just come and go, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst when you're feeling forced to make something, and I don't really make the best product when I feel like I'm forced. And my mom actually found that in me too. She's like, no, I feel like, you know, you only do it when you feel like it, and that's okay. Like, and I feel like for a long time during school, it didn't feel okay to push things, you know. So perfectionism is definitely difficult. How has it ever affected you in terms of, like, relationships, or, you know, interacting with people, your day to day?
Yes. Definitely. I think, well, relationships is a good question. I think it definitely makes me think about how to, or trying to be, like, the best friend to other people, like, all the time, and, like, morally what's correct when, like, they're, like, I'm realizing they're complicated and no one knows, like, when's the right moment to, like, speak up about something, or just let go of the resentment because it's not that big of a deal. Things like that. And then also, me trying to be, like, a really good listener and, like, give everything, and then when that isn't reciprocated, just burn out, like, in general. And then I'm just like, just gonna be alone for a couple weeks, you know. Just, like, I think, like, last study, that's kind of how I felt last fall in school. I had, you know, like, I don't know, I have a lot of different friends and networks, and then I just got burnt out. So my semester abroad came at, like, a really good time. It was basically 4 months alone. Like, well, just, you know, plopped in the middle of Paris, and, like, some study abroad friends, but they lived far, so a lot of alone time. And then I kind of went the inverse of, like, you can live your whole life and not talk to a soul, and that's scary.
Yeah.
Because then you're just, like, what are you? You're just floating around. So trying to find that balance, basically. But
especially when you're networking, you, like, perfectionism comes in where it's like, oh, well, I have to say the right thing.
Yeah.
And, like, is this the right thing to say in front of these type of people? It's just like, oh my gosh, it's a lot.
And then, you know, there's, like, once you do it well once, like, all of your whatever talents or being funny or whatever, then it's expected to do it again, and then you're like, I have a face to keep up or a personality to keep up.
For sure. Has perfectionism ever valued you though? Because I know there are some times where it can help in some ways.
It's made me a really hard worker, as I was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably so annoying as a classmate because I'm like, excuse me,
Oh
like,
my God.
I'm always asking questions, or like I do the homework and then ask questions.
That's so good.
So yeah, that's actually been nice, and teachers love me. So that
Are you
helps.
the type to do work early? Like right
No,
when you
actually no.
Wow, so you're a procrastinator.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
I've said it there. Yeah. But I'll get it done, or I'll like take a long time the night before. But,
Wow, interesting. Yeah. What was the question I asked you? Oh yeah.
I don't remember. I'm like blanking on it. I swore I had some content.
Oh yeah. Do you have any questions relating to perfectionism? I mean, you could always cut this part, like when we're thinking and stuff.
Oh well, okay. In terms of perfectionism in everyday, or wait, sorry, there was perfectionism when it comes to art or in life, and then there's art in everyday life. But we'll get to that. Sorry, but
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Do you have it? No. Okay, I'll ask a question. And I put it in the notes. But how do you feel about starting over? Because in art, there's some times where you're gonna have to start over, and you're already like 80% done, but some things in you is saying like it's not it.
I would actually wait. Can you answer first? Cause
yeah,
go ahead.
Okay, sure. Okay, so obviously in art, you have deadlines. You know, you're on a time crunch, and in my art program, we would be doing pieces that are like this big.
Right. Did you have to take AP art?
I don't know.
No? Okay.
I don't think so.
That sounded so hard.
Yeah, I mean it's a magnet program, so it's like and so I would go on in the art. Okay, yeah. So I would be such a perfectionist where I would like sometimes stay so fixated on a piece that I would even resist going to the bathroom or like drinking water.
Whoa.
I would be so fixated on finishing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing we could talk about too. But like, this is crazy. Yeah, even when I'm at home, you know. And so obviously I would like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom now,
right.
you know? And then sometimes like even in the midst of that, I would be like, this is not it, but I will continue to do it. And I would turn it in, you know, I'd receive it back and I'd still not be as proud. And, after, you know, the magnet in school, like stuff, and I tried to do work at home, you know, by myself, just for myself, I still had like the hesitation of starting over something that I knew that if I continued, it would be too much. If I continued, you know, this person doesn't even look like this person I'm trying to like paint, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I learned that it's okay to start over. Like,
right.
I mean, there's no teacher looking after me right now. Like, I can start over if I want to. And so it was a process because before I would even like, I would be such a perfectionist where I would throw away my stuff too, like completely. Ooh. Yeah. So it was a weird thing where it's like, I didn't even want to think about having to fix it, to change my ideas, to switch because
I see what you mean.
Time crunch.
Yeah.
And also it's like I feel like I'd be disappointing myself too. But
I know, like always feeling like I have to prove myself.
Yeah.
For what?
Like, I'm like the only one in the room. Relax.
I know.
Yeah. And so, but you know, it took practice, especially in the process of me reclaiming myself as an artist. And Gil's dad is actually an amazing artist, and so
really? What medium?
He does oil paint. Yeah, very very good. And so one day I was like, you know, maybe I should just take my piece to him and ask him for advice because I really don't want to start over. Maybe he can help me, you know, fix it or whatever. And so like almost like 70% of my piece I had to change.
Wow.
But it looked so much better
Really?
afterwards.
But that must have, like, hurt to
yeah,
hear.
he was like, I was like, can you just mark what I did wrong? He was like,
oh my God.
Because my proportions were off. No. And it's like, it's also like a pride thing. Like, you don't want to admit that you were wrong.
And also, when do you know, like, to take their advice versus take your artistic license?
So you remember I told you, like, I would be so fixated on something where I wouldn't even take a break. I started to, like, give myself more grace and, like, you know, would take a break. I would watch, like, a show in between. And this is when I'm doing commission work, also, because I was trying to do that.
Right.
But,
are you still doing it?
Yeah, I don't really have time. But I found that every time I came back from a break, I, like, saw it in a different lens.
Right.
I was like, oh, let me fix this. Oh, I could do this.
Yeah. Also, the subtle, like, my grandmother taught me to look at your piece from far away. That helps so much. Because you can get, like...
Bro, when you're doing portraits...
oh, my God.
When you're doing portraits and you're fixated... yeah, because the advice that Gil's dad told me is, like, you have to look at from a wide lens. And if you stay so fixated in one area, it's going to be so... disproportionate. Is that the word? Yeah. Where it is true, like, one eye will be, like, bigger than the other one because you spent too much time on that.
But it was a really good eye.
No, like, and his advice, you have to look you have to work, like, little by little.
But, like, often look.
Yeah.
Like, do that often. Well, yeah, that makes
and
sense.
I think that's such a good parallel and metaphor to life, because, like, if we're so fixated on one area all the time, we can completely miss the big picture of whatever you're doing, whether your career or maybe relationships you're trying to manage. Like, yeah, if you sometimes we can stay so fixated and perfect and, like, and just the smallest things that are not necessarily giving you value. And so, yeah,
and, like, keep asking, like, why you're doing what you're doing, and if the mission still stands or the dream still. I have the opposite problem. Like, when you were saying all that, like, I never start over. When actually you sent me the question, and I was like, yeah, I do it all the time. It's really not it's a non-issue. I will, like, if you asked me to move to Australia next week, I'd be like, what a great opportunity. Like, I'd be like, well, guess it's time to, like, new phase, new chapter. Like, that's how I felt with going to California, I mean, it's not, like, the worst thing ever. It's California and Paris, so still, not trying to, like, but still, like, it's like, I wanted to not know anyone.
That's great.
In my school, and, like, to see who I become, or, like, be my own person. And then with art, I won't finish. I'm not a finisher with art, which sucks, because like, I just have all these half done things, because I don't know, I just like I'm impressed at how long your zone lasts. Like, that's great. Like, it's terrible missing, like, bathroom breaks, but still, like, you're talking about how motivation comes and goes, but when you get it, it like,
I can't
lasts
get
long
out.
enough to finish, whereas it'll last long enough to start and then die out.
For
so
sure.
It sucks. That's why, like, there was always paint. Like, my paint table was always out, and I hadn't touched it in, like, 3 weeks.
Well, that's the thing, like, the bad thing about, like, only trying to finish is that you completely forget, like, the accomplishments or the things that you might have learned in the process in life and in art, like, and especially when you're just focused on, like, the end goal or the result, like, you don't appreciate it, I feel like, as much, because you're just trying to, like, speed through it. And I feel like
go through the motions.
A lot of that was me years ago. I feel like I've gotten better, just being more mindful and giving myself more grace towards myself, and just riding the waves, and, like, just trying to roll with the punches, you know, and being open to being wrong sometimes, and having to pivot.
I love pivoting. Big fan.
And basketball.
I know. Lacrosse.
All right, guys. So just one more question to wrap up this episode, which has been amazing. What are your personal intentions, goals as an artist, and also in your personal life, when kind of managing and battling, like, perfectionism?
Good question. Okay, so first for art, I think I actually want to practice finishing like my pieces.
I'll be your accountability
Yeah, I know,
partner.
right? We can be like, hey, did you start? Did you
You're
finish?
like, it's been 2 years.
I know, right? I'm still trying. And yeah, also like go or yes, maybe set an intention before making art to like just decide, is this for someone or is this to be realistic and for someone, or is it to experiment and say as like this is a practice or this is so that I'm not like in the back and forth of doing like random experimenting and realism. It's because sometimes it gets weird, or what was the goal, and you don't realize till the end. And then in life, I feel like this has been my goal for so long, but because I'm like perfectionist all or nothing, I can maybe take goals too far sometimes. Or
like too big of a goal? Like unrealistic?
Yes, every single time,
Okay.
actually. Come to think of it.
Yeah.
So, be better at setting smaller goals.
I feel that, yeah, for sure.
And also kind of balance being happy where I'm at while also having those goals, because that's so hard. Sometimes it's either like it's just all or nothing, like I need to be here, or like I'm just gonna vibe in the present and not worry about next year or next month, and I don't, I think life should be a balance of both. So I'd say that's my goal. What about you?
Now that I think about it, and since I went like down memory lane in high school, actually my artist statement, I think that's what we called it, or thesis or whatever. It was on people and relationships and being a light. And out of all the things that school gave me, I'm happy that I've kept that theme like in my life, and also personally and in art. And I had no idea that it would kind of follow me since that time. But I think that's what I want to continue, is to be intentional, and no matter what medium I'm at, or sometimes I'm like, I feel bad for myself being like, well, you've dabbled in a lot of things, isn't it about time you like go back to art, like visual art,
right.
Actually, I don't have to do it every week. If I have to be realistic, and I can still find beauty and art in all things of my life, I think also as artists, especially if those are in the creative field, it's definitely hard to admit that there are things we have to accept, and with finances and like life and managing everything else, like as much as I dreamed of being like a full-time artist, there's just other things I do enjoy. Like I feel like as much as I'm reclaiming myself as an artist, I'm not defining myself solely as to just one thing, and I think I just want to continue
that.
to
Come on. Too much going.
And just finding art and beauty in all things and in the simple things. So I think that's like one of my biggest intentions, at least
and
at this age right now.
And bringing art to people with your events, which is like a huge influence. And now we're doing this cool event.
Yeah, which we can promote right now.
Go to that.
And so, I mean, like this topic in particular really also stemmed and motivated this event, because me and Abby, as much, I think a lot of people too, desire just a moment to take a moment and to paint. And for those who are interested in coming, you don't have to call yourself an artist at all, or maybe this will be your first time holding a paintbrush. It doesn't matter. Come as you are. This is really just be a moment to like talk to one another, and we'll see. I think you'll be surprised as to what will come out of this, whether it be what you put on the canvas or even just like the connections you may make that day. It's going to be a really chill day, and I'm personally excited because it's been a while since I've taken a moment to paint, so I will be just as much as a participant as all of you guys. So.
And not even look for the deliverables, but like, how does your mind feel after it, or like, how's your breathing during it? Because during your event, my breathing was great.
Wow.
I was vibing. And then like it felt like no time had passed, but it had been like 5 hours, and I was like so vested in painting. But yeah, so I think it's, even if like you're not satisfied with like the art itself, which is okay because you learned something and had a good time, it's a great event. It'll be fun and healthy and all the things for a Saturday morning.
Yeah, we're super excited. It'll
With
be
food.
a little cute event. Yeah, so please tell your friends, anyone you think who would benefit and value from this event. Again, everyone is welcome, and it'll be a great time to communicate and connect with you all, and just to get to know you guys even more. I think we've had great success from meeting you guys in person.
Yeah.
So much better than just talking to a camera.
It's over. Let's get these in-person things going.
Well, thank you, Abby, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It was amazing talking to you and just reflecting on one of the greatest things that we are passionate about. Right. And if you are an artist yourself or want to get back into art, take it from us, where it's all about showing up, and not being perfect all the time. And although there can be benefits from planning, over planning can really stunt your growth sometimes. Right. And it's just all about having a balance, and how art doesn't necessarily have to be one thing, but it can be found in all things. So I think that's a good takeaway from today's episode. So if you enjoyed this, please subscribe, please follow us on all our socials, stay posted on any updates we have for our event, and just about Positive and Ponder. We're taking it easy as we're coming back slowly. I personally am trying to figure out what's next for Positive and Ponder, and as a perfectionist, I'm trying to go at a steady pace so that we continue to give you intentional content and personal content, and content that will inspire you, encourage you. So yeah, that's it. We'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to always love, to always be curious, and to always ponder. Bye.